In yesterday's video, we agreed to help Manny Vargas from Novak to get rid of the ghouls at the nearby RepCon test site so that the town of Novak could continue to scavenge from the place. Upon arriving, we discovered that the test site was inhabited by peaceful, non-feral ghouls. These ghouls are members of the Bright Brotherhood, a cult led by the glowing one named Jason Bright, who plans to take his followers on a great journey to the far beyond. His cult was just about ready to make the journey when the test site was invaded by violent nightkin, who murdered nearly half of their members. The nightkin arrived at the RepCon test site looking for stealth boys to help feed their addiction. They swarmed into the basement, and before Jason Bright and his followers can leave, they need our help getting rid of the nightkin. As we explore the basement, we run into violent, invisible nightkin, wielding powerful melee weapons and attacking by surprise. As I said at the end of yesterday's video, there are two ways to resolve this situation. The violent way, which is the easy option. Since the nightkin are already violent, we just wander around and kill all of the ones who attack us. This clears the basement, and we can then inform Jason Bright. But there is a peaceful solution, and it's much more difficult. It requires that we move around with stealth, and that we head straight to the nightkin leader named Davison. So reloading a previous save, we can turn off our Pip-Boy light, open the door at the end of this hallway, and then sneak through the room with all of these consoles. Now there's a nightkin who patrols this hallway. We need to wait until we see his shimmering form move down the hallway. When it does, we quickly start walking south. We pass the first opening to the right, there are more nightkin patrolling down there, and instead take the second right. This path is lit with an overhead light. This brings us down a short staircase, ending at a sliding door.
What's that, Antler? We have a visitor. An assassin, more like. I say kill it, Antler, for safe's sake. Okay, Antler, I'll ask. Hi, human. Why you come here?
Who's Antler?
Who is Antler? Who is Antler? Antler, the human asks about you. What do I tell it? All right. Yes, of course. Who Antler is not important to you. Antler wants that you deal with me.
Is Antler that Brahmin skull over there?
Cut it out, human. Serious. Final warning.
Hey, are you all right? You sound kinda strange.
I am in command of my faculties, in command of my troops. Antler guides me in all things, as I in turn guide my kin.
But you're taking orders from a hunk of bone.
You did it now. Antler's horn stabbing. Antler mad.
Well, he did warn us twice. Looks like the nightkin boss Davison just doesn't want to talk about his buddy Antler. Of course, this is to be expected. We've already learned from many previous encounters, including Tabitha at Black Mountain and Lily from Jacobstown, that prolonged exposure to stealth boys makes nightkin schizophrenic, and they have the tendency to invent imaginary friends. To clear the nightkin peacefully, we have to carefully navigate our conversations with Davison. Reloading a previous save, we can always challenge him to a fight by insulting him and saying, "You were right the first time, ugly. I've come to kill you."
Never! Antler protects! You feel Antler's horns now!
And of course he attacks. So instead of provoking him or insulting him, we can say, "I came here on behalf of the ghouls upstairs."
A human who is friend to ghouls? Suspicious. You mean the ones upstairs? Antler used intercom, told them stay put, but they want to come down in basement anyways. I cannot allow. My kin are not right in head like I am. They attack you on sight. Ghouls too. They crazy. Your ghoul friends have to wait until you find what Antler brought us to get.
And who are you exactly?
Me? I am devoted to Antler, but before Antler, Captain once. Last name Davison, first name, don't remember. I commanded a troop of nightkin, the Master's elite, a great honor, very proud. Something happened. We wandered the desert. Life without Master was hard. The others' minds going strange, going crazy. But then I found us new Master. I found us Antler. Since then, everything's been going really well.
Well, maybe I can help you.
Good. Antler brought us here for a reason. Why was that, Antler? Right. A piece of paper. Shipment invoice. Hundreds of stealth boys sent here a long time ago. But stealth boys must be in the one room. One we don't search yet. The one we can't search.
Why can't you search the last room?
A ghoul, but not squishy like others. This ghoul is tough. I thought Antler said, send my kin into that room, but 3 died. Ghoul is a crack shot and set traps too. After I realized I heard Antler wrong, so I locked the door to keep kin out and wait for Antler to tell me what to do. Then you come along. Antler says you are solution.
All right, I'll find the stealth boy stockpile for you if your kin will leave this place.
Yes, Antler says we leave here as soon as we get stealth boys. Let me give you key. Antler had me lock the door. The ghoul inside not expecting a human. Maybe he don't shoot you. Maybe he will.
And with that, he gives us Davidson's key. We also get this key if we kill him, and the key opens up the door that he was talking about. To find it, we turn around, turn right, go south down the hallway, where we find a dead nightkin on the ground just in front of a locked sliding door. As we unlock it...
Come and get it, you big dumb. Hey, you're not one of those things out there. Who the hell are you?
Jason Bright sent me down here to get rid of the demons.
And I bet he told you it's the Creator's will for you to risk your ass instead of him, right? Well, good luck with that. I'd give you a hand, but no thanks. I may look like a corpse, but I'm partial to living.
How did you end up getting trapped down here?
First off, I'm not trapped. This was a tactical choice, all right? I'm no match for those things out there. So I found a good defensive position, and I've been defending it, right? Oh, who am I fooling? I'm trapped. Name's Harland. Pleased to meet you. What happened was, I was escorting folks down to work when those things attacked us. Most of the fight was upstairs, but some folks panicked and made for the basement, and I went after them. Well, turns out there were even more of those bastards down here than upstairs, and things went to shit fast. I couldn't find the others, so I fell back to this room, set up a nice little kill zone. End of story.
You don't look like the other ghouls from Bright's group.
Guess the outfit gives that away, huh? I never did buy into that religious mumbo-jumbo with the robes and all that shit. It gets lonely out in the wastes, okay? And I don't have to tell you that Bright's group has got some fine-looking ghoulettes in it. Or maybe I would have to tell you. Anyway, I helped them out, and they kept me supplied with ammo and pleasant company.
How have you survived?
I'm not delicate. Radroach meat for protein, condensation off the pipes for water, and I do my business over in the far corner. I wouldn't say it's been comfy.
Well, how can I help you get out of this room?
Huh. Well, you're polite. I'll give you that. If this was just between you and me, I'd do as you ask. But it's not. I had a friend with me when those mutant bastards came out of nowheres. She panicked and ran the wrong direction. Further into the basement. She's probably dead. But I ain't leaving until I know for sure. I'd have gone looking myself, except I wouldn't last a minute out there. You, on the other hand, seem pretty resourceful. Find my friend, and I'll get out of your way.
We can always be violent by saying, looks like I have to kill you.
Then you're dumber than you look, Smoothskin. Eat this.
In which case, Harland attacks us from the catwalk, putting us at quite the disadvantage. What makes things worse is that Harland has booby-trapped this bottom floor here, with bear traps and concealed proximity mines. If we do manage to kill him, we can head up to his catwalk by opening a sliding door to the southwest. When we find his body, we find Harland's key on his inventory. But this key appears to not open anything. This must be a remnant of some sort of cut content. Now, killing him allows us to get our answer for Davison from this room, but let's try the peaceful option. Instead of killing him, we can say, "I'll try to find your friend."
Thanks. Let me know what you find out. Here's hoping she's okay.
Now, here's the tricky part. The nightkin have captured Harland's friend and have her imprisoned in a cell in the very bottom of this basement. To get there, we have to navigate these hallways, which are patrolled by invisible nightkin. If we kill too many of these nightkin, then when we go back to Davison later,
Antler says you are the one killing my kin.
he turns hostile, which means we don't get a peaceful resolution. However, we may want to kill him anyway. On his body, we find a bumper sword. There are only 2 confirmed bumper swords in the game, this one that we find on Davidson's body, and one lying in a cabinet inside Zapp's neon signs. I explored this location when I did my video on Lily. However, there is a chance that the nightkin at Black Mountain or in the Black Rock Cave can carry the bumper sword. This bumper sword is made from a car's bumper. It's a pretty powerful melee weapon doing 32 damage with a DPS of 45.5, but there are 2 more powerful unique versions that we'll find later in the game, the Blade of the East and the Blade of the West. So to avoid having to kill Davison, we need to make good use of our compass. If our perception is high enough, we can see the nightkin appear as little red slices on our compass, which helps us avoid them. Here's how I managed to sneak to the cells. When hiding around the corner at the top of the stairs that leads to Davidson's lair, we see the nightkin patrolling the hallway. We wait until the marker moves quickly to the west. This means that he's gone down the hallway. Moving to the far eastern edge of this hallway to be as far away from their side as possible, we can walk north. At the end, the hallway turns left, and there are more nightkin in the room to the left and patrolling at the bottom of these stairs. Making sure we're on the far northern edge of this hallway, we can sneak quickly past the room, and then at the top of the stairs, make sure that the nightkin have moved up the western staircase and down the southern hallway. We know we're at the right place when we find a staircase with a bunch of Nuka-Cola bottles at the top, with a few bottle caps. Heading north down this hallway, we find a construction light at the very end and a door to the cell in the eastern wall. This is the jail, and it's guarded by a unique nightkin called the Nightkin Jailer. We have to get the key off of his inventory, so we're forced to either kill him or pickpocket it. Now, Davison will continue to talk with us as long as we don't kill too many of his nightkin. So killing this jailer is okay, as long as we don't kill too many others. The jailer wields an incinerator and proves to be a tough battle, especially earlier in the game. But when he's dead, on his body we find the jail key. Now we just need to find Harland's friend. We see that the catwalk passes across the cages. Heading east down a catwalk, we find 2 doors. The left door leads to a mostly empty room with just a few containers to loot, and the right door leads to a stairway. But before we go down, let's finish exploring this top portion. Heading south leads to another wing of this room. Rounding a corner to the east, we open a door leading to another mostly empty room. Here we find a lot of fission batteries, sensor modules, scrap metal, and other scrap. We find a small stash of bottle caps at the bottom of one of the shelves. With that, we completely explore this top level so we can return to that one door with the staircase leading down. Following it to the bottom, we can open a door using the jail key that we got from the jailer. Here we find 2 big machines, it appears to be generators, I think, and a couple of shelving units covered in scrap and garbage. The first door to the northwest is empty with a few barrels and scrap inside. The second door to the west has a big blasted out generator with another shelf filled with scrap. Turning south, we can unlock a door using the jail key to another wing of the cell. Here we find an already open door to the northwest, which just has some barrels inside. So heading out, we can explore the room to the southeastern corner. Here we just find a bunch of barrels. But when we move to the open door to the northeast, we find, lying on the ground, the body of a ghoul prisoner. This must have been Harland's friend. As we observe the body, the quest log updates. We now need to tell Harland the sad news. Heading out, there was one final door to explore, the southeastern door in the first room. But like all of the others, there's not much in here but a blasted generator. To leave, we go through the eastern door and retrace our steps up the stairwell, across the catwalk, and out the door to the hallway. But remember, these nightkin are still patrolling, so it's good to save here before moving on in case we get spotted. After sneaking our way back to Harland, he addresses us.
Did you find my friend?
Yes, unfortunately.
I see. Well, spare me the details. Damn it. I'm gonna miss that crooked yellow smile. Alright, you did your part, so I'll do mine. Look around up here if you want. I'm gonna make a break for topside.
With that, Harland opens the door to the southwest and makes a run for it. He doesn't really have any more time to talk.
Kinda busy running for my life here, Smoothskin.
Now, if we chose not to kill the nightkin on our way to the jail, this could pose a problem for Harland as he retreats. We'll see why in a moment. But exploring this room, we find a dead nightkin to the west and a bear trap. There are lots of bear traps all over the floor. We can get some experience by disarming them one by one. We also find these little dirt mounds. These are concealed proximity mines, and we can activate them to disarm them. There's a first aid kit against the southwestern wall, and rounding a corner we find a tripwire rigged to 2 shotguns next to a terminal. I got distracted bothering about disarming the tripwires and the shotguns and failed to notice that the terminal was rigged to explode. Well, no lore on there. The explosion knocks out any other tripwires we might have missed. In the southeastern corner, we can find some shotgun shells next to a shotgun. That's it for this ground floor, so going to the southwest, we can go through the door and up the stairs to the top level. Here we find a bunch of dead rad roaches. These must be the very same rad roaches that Harland told us he had been eating for protein. Let's just hope we don't find the corner where he chose to relieve himself. In the southeastern corner of this room, we find a table with 2 terminals in front of a big stack of boxes. The one on the right still works, and inside we learn that this is the custodial terminal. We find 3 notes. In the first one, we find the same entry that we read yesterday from Bill Martin. This entry just talks about the shipment of stealth boys that came here by mistake. In the next entry, we find a note on workplace misbehavior. This was a company-wide intramail from Daniel Knivet, a human resources manager. In light of yesterday's upsetting events, all employees are hereby directed to give a thorough reading to REPCON's sexual harassment and workplace behavior policies. Also, while it's not explicitly stated in the employee handbook, unauthorized use of military hardware against fellow employees is grounds for immediate termination. Sincerely, Daniel Knivet. We get the distinct impression that someone had used a stealth boy to turn himself invisible and sexually harass other employees, perhaps spying on them in the bathroom. If I had to guess, I'd say it was Bill Martin. After all, he ended his intramail by saying, "I bet you can have a lot of fun with these." Perhaps he had a little too much fun. In the final message, shipment sent back, we find a message from Sanjeev Rajan, a REPCON custodian, to the Robco HQ Supply Department. Hi Robco Supply, we're sending back 2 crates of devices labeled Stealth Boys back to you. According to the manifest, each crate contained 1 gross, 144, of the devices. As a result of employee misbehavior, not mine, 1 crate was opened and is missing 5 Stealth Boys. Sorry about that. Sincerely, Sanjeev Rajan, the custodian. We found 2 stealth boys in that one safe next to the skeleton and the scoped revolver in yesterday's video. We found 2 more in Stevie's wall-mounted safe. He was in charge of this place. I wonder why he stole 2. So that's 4, but what about the 5th? Well, the final stealth boy must have been used by the employee that sexually harassed the other workers. Reading this terminal entry adds a note to our inventory, and it updates our quest log. We now have the information we need to get these nightkin out of here. It's unlikely that Davison and his nightkin will want to stick around once they learn that the stealth boys are gone. They were sent back to Robco. We can finish exploring up here. We find a few pieces of jet, a few boxes of 308 Magnum ammunition, and by jumping across some of the gaps, we can squeeze behind one of the crates where we just find a couple pieces of scrap metal. So, hopping on down, we can head north. Now, if we left these nightkin alive, it's possible we could run into them, but if we're quick, we can head west down the hallway and confront Davison.
Antler sings for stealth boys. Have you found them?
There is no stockpile of stealth boys in the building.
Liar! The invoice said stealth boys here. Antler read it out loud to me.
The stealth boys were sent here by mistake and then sent back.
But invoice note said stealth boys were here. Why can't that note be true? What, Antler? But human could be lying. Is stealing the stealth boys for itself. Oh, Antler, you trust so easy. Your lucky day, human. Antler, believe you. Nightkin will follow the new note to find stealth boys. Better be there.
With that, Davison and his nightkin leave the building. Turning around, we see a door to the west. This leads to an empty room. We just see a bunch of scrap and a Braxo cleaner on the ground. But on the western wall, we see a sign that says stairs next to a switch. Hitting the switch opens up a secret set of stairs in the floor. Going down the stairs, we find another room filled with garbage, scrap, and refuse. And then a door to the south. Opening it leads to a tunnel. This must be the path that Jason Bright and his Bright followers were about to follow when the nightkin arrived. Well, now that we know the way, we can head back to Jason Bright. To do so, we retrace our steps, and oh no, at the top of the stairs, we find the body of Harland. Harland makes it out okay if we killed all of the nightkin. It's also possible that he can survive if we time things just right. If we give Harland the news about his friend, just as the nightkin have stopped patrolling the hallway, he can sneak by. But if the nightkin are left alive, it's likely that he'll die here. So it may be a choice between letting the nightkin live and killing Harland, or letting Harland live by killing all of the nightkin. But with the nightkin gone, we can finally explore the other rooms in this basement. Going down a western hallway, we see an opening to the north. We can follow it until we find a room with a big sign outside that says food. Here we find a bunch of Brahmin ribs and skulls in a corner, and a slew of dishes, cups, and silverware. We find minor food items in the refrigerator. Heading out and opening a door at the end of a hallway to the west, we find a storage room with more garbage and junk. Really nothing interesting. Turning around and going up the steps, we find a door to the north. This leads to some sort of theater room. There's a projector on a table next to a coffee machine, and a bunch of chairs lined up facing north. At the end, we find a lectern with a ruined book on top. This may have been where RepCon employees gave business presentations, although we don't find a projection screen against the wall. And that's it for the basement. So retracing our steps, we can leave by going out the exit and up the staircase to the north. Back inside the lab, we can see the Bright followers on their way to bed. We can intercept Jason to tell him the good news.
Is the way clear?
Yes, the demons are gone.
Praise the Creator, and bless you, Wanderer. The way is clear. I will lead my flock through the basement to the sacred site. I hope you will come find us there, Wanderer. There is much to be done.
And with that, the Bright Brotherhood members run towards the basement. We can try to follow them, but they're much faster than us. They leave through a door to the east, and as we go through, we see that they've ran ahead. But we know where they're going. Back in the basement, we can go down to that tunnel that we opened up earlier. Following the tunnel, we see that the tunnel goes deeper into the earth. Rounding a corner, we see a room to the southwest. But this room is just filled with a bunch of random scrap. Heading out and going south downhill, we wind around a couple more corners until we find 3 doors and 1 path to the right. The door to the right is marked with a nuclear hazard warning sign. Opening it, however, we don't find a lot of radiation. We do find some toxic waste barrels, but they're not radioactive. Here we find a reloading bench and a couple of other machines. Turning around and going east, we can open the eastern door. Here we just find a blasted out generator. And to the west, we find a ladder that leads topside. So opening the door to the south, we find Jason Bright standing by an observation window waiting for us.
I waited to speak with you one last time before I descended to the launch pad, Wanderer. I want you to know that we will remember for all eternity how you delivered us to the threshold of the great journey. Our preparations are nearly complete, but the rockets that will carry us to salvation are yet missing vital components. If you would still help us, Wanderer, speak to Chris. He can tell you what is missing. There is no way that we can thank you enough, Wanderer. Your arrival here was a blessing. We will remember you always.
Are you seriously going to make your great journey on those rockets?
Yes. The rockets will convey us to our promised land in the far beyond. Vision upon vision has confirmed it.
Those rockets will convey you and your flock straight into the ground.
I understand your concerns, friend, and I thank you for voicing them. But the Creator's will for us has been made manifest.
Hey, let's talk about Chris for a sec.
After all that you have done for us, I suppose you deserve to know everything. When Chris came to us, we tried to convince him that he was human. But this only angered him. He seemed lost. We decided to let him stay with us for a few days, over the course of which we learned that his technical skills far surpassed our own. It became clear that the Creator had sent him to us, to ensure the success of the great journey. Equally clear was that Chris should labor in blessed ignorance of his humanity, and his inability to make the journey himself. It is no coincidence that two humans have been vital to the success of the great journey. It is my belief that the Creator sent you and Chris to expiate the sins of your kind against mine. You are redeemers both.
So you're gonna leave Chris behind?
Such is the Creator's will. Vision upon vision has shown me that were Chris to accompany us, he would die in minutes. The radiation around the launch pad alone would kill Chris in minutes. The radioactivity of the far beyond is much stronger.
You've been using Chris. That's despicable.
It is the Creator's will, and I must submit. There is no malice in it. We would take him with us if we could.
Wow, you really pulled the wool over his eyes.
I take no pleasure in hiding the truth from Chris, but it is the Creator's will to which I must submit.
Well, it's none of my business.
Chris shall be declared the saint of the great journey before we depart. I hope this will ease his sadness.
Goodbye, Jason.
There is no way that we can thank you enough, Wanderer. Your arrival here was a blessing. We will remember you always. Forgive me, Wanderer, but my flock awaits.
So Jason Bright and his bright followers are not going to take Chris Haversham with them on the great journey to the far beyond. They've been using him all these years to take advantage of his technical know-how. We now have a tough choice. We have to work with Chris to get him what he needs to help the Bright Brotherhood, but we have the option to tell him that Jason has deceived him. But what will be the consequences if we do so? Is it better to allow Chris to work in blissful ignorance to help the Bright followers on their way? Or is it better that Chris know the truth, but risk Chris doing something rash? We will fully explore both options when we conclude this story in tomorrow's episode. What are your thoughts on the story so far? Do you think it's even worth keeping Davison and his nightkin alive? After all, they already murdered half of the Bright Brotherhood. They're completely hostile when we find them. They could murder many other people if we allow them to escape into the wasteland. Are they worth keeping alive? Or do you take pity on them because of their schizophrenia? Davison is a bit more sane than most. Do you think that they're redeemable, which is enough reason to spare their lives? And what about Harland? The poor man has already lost so much. The nightkin killed his friend, a woman he was probably in love with. Well, at least in lust with. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I publish a new Fallout video 6 days a week on a wide range of topics spanning all of the games. So if you want to make sure that you don't miss my next episode, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. And follow me on social media, Twitter and Facebook, to keep up with Oxhorn news. There I will make announcements like if I'm going to be publishing a video late or if I need to skip a day. But more than anything, I'm just so glad that you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow morning bright and early with the dramatic concluding episode of the story of the Bright Brotherhood.